Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
A building gets torched. All that is left is ashes. I used to think that was true about everything. Families, friends, feelings. But now I know that sometimes, if love proves real, two people who are meant to be together, nothing can keep them apart.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. I'm your host Stuart, and I'm finally actually in the host seat for the cinema section of the show. I miss doing this part. And with me is Andy.
Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't revel in it that much.
I love doing. I don't know why, but I feel more at home doing the cinema section of the show rather than the DVD section of the show. I just find it strange. I think I've done this section of the show so much that it just becomes second nature rather than the DVD part.
Well, that's why I'm dreading going back to the DVD part this week because of all the shout-outs I've got to do at the end, which I'm going to miss someone. I'm going to miss at least one.
Yeah, well, if anybody wants to shout out at the end of the show, why not? And just put more pressure on top of you.
I'm just going to comment on the intro there. The clip that was heard in this week's show was tied into, very sadly, 20 years ago, yesterday to the day, Brandon Lee was killed, fatally being shot during the making of The Crow, which that clip is from. So it's a very bittersweet clip, but it's a phenomenal film. Yeah,
coming up on this week's show, we have the UK box office top 10 and some movie news, plus reviews of these films.
The Stephanie Meyer other book that's not Twilight, The Host, written and directed by Andrew Niccol. The sequel to G.I. Joe with G.I. Joe Retaliation. And Danny Boyle's latest movie, Trance.
As usual, we are on the live chat, so we are streaming live, so get us on the live chat if you've got anything to say about the films that we're reviewing or anything in the UK box office top 10, which we are kicking off with now. So at number 10 is Mama, which I know Andy has still not seen, and I don't think he will ever intend to see this.
No, I may see it when it comes out on DVD. It depends what kind of a mood I'm in when it comes to it, because I don't think I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, what I like is the fact that horror films of this kind of ilk or horror films seem to be getting a staggered release now. You know, when we used to go weeks and weeks and weeks without a horror film, now we seem to be going like a couple of weeks without a horror film because I'm reviewing Dark Skies next week and it's got a very similar kind of feel to Mama. But Mama's it's a decent enough average horror film.
Didn't it used to be you got like no horror films for absolutely ages, and then all of a sudden 3 would be released in 1 week or something like that?
Yeah, well, you've got Dark Skies this week, and in a couple of weeks' time you've got Evil Dead, which I'm highly looking forward to. I'm going to be there. If there was a midnight showing of it in my cinema, I would be there. It is one of my most anticipated horror films for a while.
I'm tempted to do that. There's an Iron Man 3 midnight showing at my local cinema, and I've got tickets for the opening night in IMAX, and I'm tempted. I'm like, do I go for the midnight one, or do I actually wait that day to see the IMAX one at like 8 o'clock at night? I don't know.
We'll see. Number 9 is Parker.
Which is, an average to disappointing Jason Statham movie. It's a typical sort of Jason Statham film, but apart from the fact that it's got too many story things that have been added in, too many sort of complicated things, and Jennifer Lopez being added in as well to make it up to a 2-hour film when it really needs to be about an hour and a half, and that would have done fine.
Yeah, it's overly too long. At number 8 is Welcome to the Punch,
which is enjoyable, but not quite hitting the mark as it wants to. You've got James McAvoy in there as the British cop who's chasing after this master criminal played by Mark Strong, who is then called back in for reasons to do with his son, and the police try and catch him. And it's this sort of cat and mouse thing between the two of them. And it has what's needed there, but then it has too much of it. And it gets too complex, and it's like you pull a thread and it just starts to all unravel about halfway through. So by the end of the film, it doesn't feel as if it's really accomplished what it wanted to do.
Yeah, number 7, new entry for Stolen.
This is the Nicolas Cage film, which took absolutely ages to come out, so long that director Simon West filmed it before he did Expendables 2. That's how long it's taken to come out here. And for good reason, because it's not really that good. It's Nicolas Cage. It's the Nicolas Cage on the lower end of the Nicolas Cage scale films. It's straight to video fare at best, which for some reason has got a cinema release.
Lower end of the Nicolas Cage film, so I'm guessing now with Ghost Rider.
No,
sequel
Ghost
to
Rider,
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, okay, Ghost Rider. Although I do like things in Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, but Ghost Rider 1 is higher up, although Ghost Rider 1 isn't particularly brilliant. I mean, you've got things like Adaptation, which are really up the high end of Nicolas Cage scale of acting, and films, and The Croods, which is quite sort of fairly high up, which we'll come to in a minute. But I mean, it really is straight to video. Why it's in the cinema, I don't know.
It's a bit like Fire with Fire, isn't it? Number 6, animated film Wreck-It Ralph.
Nothing more to say about this other than it's fantastic. Go see it if you haven't. It's still on in cinemas.
And number 5, Side Effects.
Which is, I was going to say Stephen Soderbergh. Apparent last film. Really great cast, but he's kept it from being a massively long cast list of names. And a good sort of commentary on the thing of pills and people treating things like depression with tablets when other things should really been done and stuff, and the ills and the dangers of that, and turns into a really good thriller by the end of it. And surprisingly, a good performance from Jude Law.
And number 4, Identity Thief.
I haven't seen this, but from what I hear, it's quite awful. Stuart?
Yes, it is pretty awful. I've been told to cheer up a lot more, because I am what I would say at my friends today, I said to them, I've been given the nickname of the Grumpy Ninja. And
it's a great nickname. It is a great nickname. We don't get to choose our nicknames, and that is a great one, though.
They didn't dispute that, though, that I was not a grumpy ninja. I hadn't spoke to him for like 8 years, and then early last year he got in contact with me on Facebook, so it was like an 8-year gap, and he still didn't dispute the fact that I'm not a grumpy ninja. It doesn't help, though, that the films that I'm reviewing this week are not very good. It gives you a hint. But
it's not the fact that you were given the nickname the Grumpy Ninja, it's the fact that people you haven't seen for ages didn't disagree with it.
Exactly, and it doesn't help. The thing is, though, with me saying I'm not a grumpy ninja doesn't help my cause when I have to review films like Identity Thief, because Identity Thief is not a funny comedy at all. If you like Jason Bateman and Melissa McCarthy, the problem is you'll just not find them. They don't seem to gel very well together, even though it's a buddy movie, but it just doesn't work. None of the jokes in the movie actually hit home. They're not funny. It's not a gross-out movie, which I was glad that it wasn't, but it's just not a very funny film.
Okay.
Number 3...
It's just odd that it seems like the two of them would have a good sort of comedy chemistry, which is a shame, really.
It's not. I think it's down to the director. It's from the director of Horrible Bosses. And I think if it was under better hands, it's from the producers of Ted. I think if they were under the hands of Seth MacFarlane, the director of Ted, he would have gotten much more out of them, because look what he did with Ted. So,
yeah.
Number 3, Oz the Great and Powerful.
Which I really loved. It's sort of had a bit of hit and miss for some people, but I think the majority have enjoyed it. Sam Raimi doing a PG film, but still managing to be quite typically Sam Raimi, creepy and scary a bit. But I really loved it, and that's saying something, because I'm not a massive fan of James Franco, who's perfectly fine in it.
Yeah, I agree. It's very average. It's an average thing. Like I said,
I just enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting to, and I found the 3D and the great sound use of it, and the whole thing of the immersiveness of it. It's one of the most immersive films that I've seen at the cinema in recent months.
Yeah, number 2, Jack the Giant Slayer, it's a new entry,
which is disappointing to say the least. Really, it's a adaptation of Jack and the Beanstalk, done by Bryan Singer. It looks good until the giants show up, and then the effects of the giants just doesn't work for me. Found it so distracting. Nicholas Hoult isn't especially brilliant in it. I don't think that's down to him. I think it's down to the writing, and it's just it doesn't click. I wasn't bored, but I wasn't really sort of on the edge of my seat where I really should have been during it. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, just a quick thing on Jack the Giant Slayer. It's dropped down to number 12 at the US box office. It's only taken $61 million so far on a $195 million budget.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised it's taken that much. I actually am surprised it took that much because I didn't think it would do that well.
That's not the surprising fact. Released the same time last year was John Carter, and John Carter did better than Jack the Giant Slayer. So,
John Carter's a better film. I like John Carter. I really did like John Carter. I have the 3D Blu-ray, and I've watched it in 3D at home since getting it, and the 3D held up. I enjoyed it. I loved it.
And finally, at number 1 is a new entry for The Croods,
which I really enjoyed. I mean, we had it last week. We were reviewing that, and also in the DVD section, we reviewed one of its. The DreamWorks animation did both that and Rise of the Guardians, and I just found that I loved The Croods a lot more than I did Rise of the Guardians, and it just worked for me a lot more. The animation's brilliant. There's a lot more comedy in there. I genuinely laughed a lot more throughout the whole film, and it held my entertainment from start to end thoroughly. And Nicolas Cage is in it, not really annoying except for one bit where he is intentionally doing something stupid because of the story. But other than that, it's like, oh, Nicolas Cage is in the film, and it's not bad.
Yep, that's it for the UK box office top 10. Let's get on to some movie news. One quick note, there is one piece of movie news that is a bit ridiculous. If you can spot, it might be an April Fool's, not sure, but if you can spot which one it is, you get a cookie of some kind.
It's not my one, it's one of your ones, because you've got a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I've just got one quick one first, which is about Iron Man 3, which is apparently going to be getting, in its Chinese release, a version which will be China only, which will be featuring an actress over there named Fan Bingbing. No, I'm not making that up. And she will actually be having some kind of cameo or some scenes that will be shot especially for the Chinese cinema release, that will not be in the US or UK or any other versions. So, I mean, it's this whole thing of making the films specifically for a different market. Yeah, I hate when they do stuff like that, because it generally means that it becomes more about the marketing and less about the actual film.
Yeah, well, you know what the Chinese government is like anyway. They're very fastidious with their movies. They don't allow animation and live action in a film. So films like Who Framed Roger Rabbit is banned in China because they don't allow that. The reason being is because the Chinese government believe that it takes money away from the live action actors. So they're not allowed that, and you know how hard it is to release just anything in China. Games consoles are really difficult to be released in China, so if they try to tailor I know it's horrible, but if they try to tailor a movie and at least it gets people to see it rather than pirating a copy of the film, then at least people are actually able to see the film itself. But I'm more optimistic in that case.
I just think it's... You optimistic? Wow.
Yeah, I know.
I just think it's kind of like the whole thing of pandering to the lowest common denominator sort of thing. I don't mean that as in China's the lowest common denominator, but it's just they're going, oh, we've got to do this because this group of people over here won't watch it otherwise, and it just screams of desperation, really.
The thing is, though, what my question is I wonder how well Iron Man will actually do in China. Is it going to be so important enough that it's going to take big business in China, or is it just a bit of a waste of time?
I think it'll do well, because I think sort of comics in general, and because it's one of those things that does well as long as there's the foundation for it, and Marvel has the foundation just about everywhere that it needs for people.
Yeah, I'll get on to my news. I'll throw this piece of news quickly out. Paramount Pictures have actually just given the green light to G.I. Joe 3.
Yeah, I saw
it has
that.
a really good, strong opening weekend of around about $51 million in the US. The second highest grossing ever during the Easter holidays.
Let's see what happens when it drops next week by so much percentage. I'll be interested to see if it is above 50% drop.
Evil Dead opens on Friday in America.
Yeah,
so
it's not. Well, that's going to be like R-rated over there. I'm wondering anything else that comes out that's sort of the PG-13 area over there.
No, it's just Evil Dead and the re-release of Jurassic Park in 3D. So
yeah, that's not going to do massively, I don't think.
Vin Diesel has confirmed that Fast and Furious 7 will begin shooting this summer. Diesel wrote on his Facebook page, there was an early screening earlier this week of Fast 6, which actually does look pretty decent. The crowd reaction was surreal, and the demand for the continuation was very powerful. It's remarkable to think that I first embodied the character in 1999, which shocked me when I was actually writing this news story down, and the evolution continues. P.S. Filming begins this summer in LA, where it all started. Talk about the studio in sync with the audience.
Fast and the Furious series has been one of those ones that I've loved from the very start, with possibly the exception of the second one, which is awful. But I've been a fan of it from the start. I've followed it. I've watched every film and several times. I've even watched the second one more than once. And I just love them. And especially with the last three, they've really come together and really got the formula sorted out. So it'd be nice to see what they do with the sixth one, and from what we hear about the seventh one being set up, I'm looking forward to both of them.
Yeah, next piece of news, Roland Emmerich has revealed a few details for the sequels to Independence Day. The two films have a tentative title of ID Forever Part 1 and 2, and that he has completed a script for both films. Emmerich said the humans knew that one day the aliens would come back, and they knew that the only way we can travel in space is through wormholes. So for the aliens, it could take 2 or 3 weeks, but for us, that's 20 or 25 years. He went on to say, it's a changed world, it's like parallel history. Humans have harnessed all this alien technology. We don't know how to duplicate it because it's an organically grown technology, but we know how to take an anti-gravity device and put it in a human airplane.
I'm not going to get excited about this. I like Independence Day. I really do like it. It's one of those great blockbuster popcorn movies that, I mean, it defined a genre, really. These sequels have been in the works apparently for years, and they kept going on about them, and now supposedly they've got a script, but I'm not going to get excited until I hear they have started filming.
Yep, the next piece of news, Firebox, which is this online retail site where they sell very interesting items, have put up a extremely interesting item in the fact that you can buy a full-life Iron Man suit. The suit includes a Mark XLVII headset capable of projecting holographic technology, hand-mounted stabilization jets, and a thigh-mounted flare development system designed to provide optimum flight control. The suit itself will cost you around about £250,000, but they will throw in free delivery.
Move on. Let's move on.
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, I was looking over it and I was thinking, really, they even have a full list of technical specifications and stuff like that. And it's even made to measure.
Booger has said in the chat, I want an Iron Man suit. I don't know how long Booger's been in the chat, if he's been listening or not, but Booger, one of these we suspect may be a April Fool's joke. So
I don't know fully yet if it is an April Fool's joke, because if you go onto the site itself, if you go onto firebox.com and search for the Iron Man suit, it's down there to buy with free delivery, and it's in stock. And it's £250,000.
If it was a real suit, it'd be more than that.
Yeah, and it'll take 5 to 6 months to come to you from the point of delivery. So I'm not sure. The last piece of news, it's been announced that MGM is to team up with GK Films on a reboot to the Tomb Raider series. No details have been released about the reboot yet. However, it looks like it might follow the same kind of route as the recent Tomb Raider game.
I have no issue with the second one maybe, but with the Tomb Raider film, the first one, yeah. I quite liked it. It's fun.
Yeah, that one I think might be the April Fool. I don't know. You never know. Now, I was going to go to a break, but because we've taken so much time on the news and box office top 10, we have 26 minutes left. We better start the film review. So I'm throwing Andy, you into the deep end.
Yeah, okay. I've got 2 films I'm doing this week. I'm just trying to think which I'm going to do The Host first, which is written and directed by Andrew Niccol. It's based on the Stephenie Meyer novel, Stephenie Meyer of Twilight fame. This is the other series of books that she's written one book, and is apparently working on sequels for it. It stars.
Don't say there's going to be 4 in the series, because
I don't know how many. I don't know how many there's possibly going to be, but she's apparently working on a sequel at the moment. It stars... What's her name? You say it, because I can't say it.
Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah. She plays Melanie in the movie, who at the start of the movie we're told by voiceover that the Earth is now occupied by an alien force that's taken over, that they have these... Basically, these aliens have come to Earth that then inhabit human bodies and take over our bodies, and the people people's minds are just gone. There's nothing happens to them after that. They just basically have taken over the Earth, except for a small pocket of resistance of people who are trying to stay human and don't want to get caught. Melanie is one of these people in there, and during the opening scenes of the movie, she actually kills herself intentionally so she isn't captured while she's actually being chased by a group of them, leading them away from her younger brother. She is then survives the suicide attempt and is brought back to life, and one of them is then implanted in her, but as a side effect of what it is, because she's apparently extremely strong-willed, she is still present inside her own body and is able to communicate and influence the creature, which is called Wanderer, that she is then sort of able to talk to it and influence it, so that she leads it to the resistance to actually go back and make sure that they're all there and safe and everything's okay. But when she gets there, obviously they realise that she is no longer Melanie, that she is one of these aliens, and they're not particularly welcoming to her. Here's a clip.
Another seeker. It is the furthest thing from a seeker I've ever seen. I mean, she jumped between you and Kyle.
No, they don't do this. She's trying to find a way to stay alive and to escape.
What? Do I give Kyle the go-ahead to kill her? That's a good plan.
What the hell has gotten into everybody? Huh? It is the enemy. Don't forget it.
You don't feel bad at all. I mean, I have killed her.
It doesn't matter. It's not human.
So we stop acting human?
So when she gets back to the pocket of resistance that there is, that are sort of living in caves, which are sort of have been set up and is all done by her uncle, which is played by I forget his name now. I forget his name. It'll come to me in a minute. But
you're not going to be helped out by me.
No, William Hurt. William Hurt is the one who plays her uncle, and he is the sort of the leader of their community. While at the same time, there are these two characters there. There's two boys that you have. One is the boyfriend of Melanie that was with her before and now wants to essentially kill her because he thinks she's just this thing that's taken her over, and another one is this other boy there you heard in the clip, who is sort of comes to her defense and actually ends up sort of as they sort of befriend this wanderer and actually rename her Wanda, and actually sort of start to befriend her and welcome her into their community. Meanwhile, at the same time going on there, you have Diane Kruger, who plays the Seeker, who is one of the people who goes around and searches for this human resistance in order to capture them so they can then implant them and wipe out what's left of the human resistance. The thing is with the host, and the thing is I'm trying to think of, because I've still got to write up my review of the host for the site. I keep working on it and it's just not finished yet, and I'm struggling with it.
I've just got to actually write up a review for the site because I haven't done one for a very long time. I will for Evil Dead, though. Sorry.
Before I saw it, though, I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes, it had an 11% rating, which is really low. That's really bad. Yeah, it was 11%. I haven't looked now to see what it's like since it's been released now, but that was a majority of critics gave it an 11% rating. And the thing is, I think that's really harshly unfair, because I think it's people are giving it a sort of a backlash because it's Stephanie Myers and it's all advertised as being a Twilight, the writer of Twilight, and the trailer has this clip of action in it.
12%.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of action in it because it's Andrew Niccol, who I love as a writer and a director, who did Gattaca and In Time more recently. He has that very interesting style and a thing of covering the topic of what it is to be human and existentialism, and he does that in this as well. But it does have its fair share of problems. It's got a problem with the writing in that it's far too slow paced at times. It stops when it should be sort of ramping things up. There's a good performance in there from Saoirse Ronan, but the thing is that she's doing herself playing Wanda the alien, and then also doing in voiceover playing Melanie, and the voiceover part doesn't quite work because it doesn't seem like there's any real emotion to it, which she's supposed to be the more emotional one than the host, than the alien. You have this whole thing as well that there's a problem where in her voiceover every now and again she brings in this southern accent, and yet the host, the alien talking, doesn't really have an accent, and then you've got Diane Kruger who's still got her German accent throughout the whole film, and it's just that was one of the things that really annoyed me. It's this whole thing of there being a love triangle. I don't know how much this obviously has come from the book, but I've never read the book, and I had an issue with that in here. Another thing I had an issue with is the ending, which I'm not going to give away what it is, but the ending was kind of like a thing of having your cake and eating it, which was a bit sort of a slap in the face. But I quite enjoyed this film. I really did enjoy it. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was awful. I definitely didn't think it was as bad as 11 or 12%. It's not a absolutely fantastic, amazing film, but I thought that it really did have something going for it through it. It just didn't capitalize on it by the end of the film, which is a shame. But if they make another one, if there's another book and it gets made into a film, if this one does well enough, I will go and see it gladly because I enjoyed it. As long as it's Andrew Niccol again, because I like Andrew Niccol.
Number 6 in the US box office top 10. That's where it went in.
That's not good. That's not good unless it hangs around and does well or goes up. But given that people are saying
it's a $65 million budget and it took $11 million.
Yeah, given that it's been, I mean, even with that, even if it does really badly at cinema, by the time it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD, it will not lose money, and that's just America. I mean, you've got the international market as well. It won't lose money, this film. It may not do brilliantly, but I think it deserves to do a lot better than it has.
Yeah, and before I quickly go on to my review, I just want to quickly mention this. I forgot to mention this regarding the Iron Man suit. It's just been pointed out to me by Booger in the live chat. There is an important information box in yellow which says, due to the experimental and highly secret nature of this product, customers will be required to undertake rigorous physical and psychological tests before purchase. For legal reasons, a full waiver must be also signed, indemnifying Firebox on the unlikely event of injury or appearances of arch nemesis.
Yeah.
And also the Menace in the live chat has just tried to buy it and no luck. I don't think your other half would be very happy with you, Menace, if you tried to buy that and it did go through. So, yeah, you've got to love people now, haven't you?
It is a good one. It is a good one. As far as they go, that is a good one.
Yeah, it is very good because you normally see really rubbish April Fool's jokes, don't you? Right, next film up for review is G.I. Joe Retaliation. I'm not going to go through the storyline that much because there is a sort of spoiler in the first... I know the storyline laughable, but there is a sort of spoiler, isn't there, in the first 15 minutes of the movie? And
there is. I mean, I posted my review on the site and I did mark in big red letters, beware spoilers hereafter, as I started.
And also, if you've not seen the ending or the end bit of G.I. Joe, the first one, Rise of Cobra, again, there's a tiny little bit of a spoiler in this, but why would you go see the sequel if you've not seen the original? I'm not sure, but this one anyway, it centres around the Joes, one of them played by Channing Tatum. There's a group of Joes anyway, and they've been sent to Pakistan to retrieve these nuclear weapons. They are then framed for stealing these weapons and framed for assassinating the Pakistani president instead. And this army or these group of soldiers, etc., are sent in to disband them, kill them. In other words, a few of them survive. I'm not going to give away who survives, but a few of them survives, and they end off discovering a plot might be afoot where Cobra might be doing something a bit heinous. Again, I'm not going to give it too much away because you might have not seen the first one, and it's in recent memory. So we have a rule I would say about 10 years. If it's a movie released 10 years prior, we're not bothered about giving away the ending, or if it's a rubbish film anyway. But I'm not going to give away the ending of the original G.I. Joe. So a few of them have managed to survive, including Roadblock, who was played by Dwayne Johnson. They then need to team up to try to track down somebody else who was a Joe previously, played by Bruce Willis, to help them out to try and discover what is going on. Cobra, like I said, it might be involved with something that they're doing, and also the rivalry between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes is also bubbling under as well. Here's a clip.
Brother Block, as always, do you mind leading us in a few words, please, sir?
In the immortal words of Jay-Z. Whatever deity may guide my life, dear Lord, don't let me die tonight. But if I shall before I wake, I'd accept my fate. Hell yeah!
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah.
Nice bit of music there from Jay-Z in the background, because there is a tiny little speech by Roadblock which involves a line from a Jay-Z song. So, yeah. The rest of the film, like I said, I've already described how it plays out. Now, G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, the first one, is one of those guilty pleasure kind of things. If it's on, or if you just fancy a movie that's a bit brain dead, to be honest, you don't mind leaving your brain at the door, you'll find things quite enjoyable in it. It's not a bad film. Yes, I know I've said it's not a bad film, which shocks a few people considering how cheesy it is, and the fact that this one has got a higher rating on IMDb than G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra.
I just going to ask you, actually, with the first one, how much did you want one of those suits in the first one? It kind of links in with our Iron Man thing. How much did you want one of those suits when you saw it in the first one? I want one of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. What they decide to do is they decide to play it on the fact that they're making people go, oh, I want that, oh, I want this, oh, I want that. There is nothing in this movie that does that. It just feels like a few ordinary people discover a plot that's happening which involves weapons of a nuclear kind, or another weapon which could ultimately shift the balance in favour of one country. They have nothing that enables them to do any of that stuff. And it's a really badly lackluster, paint by numbers summer blockbuster movie. It's the start of the summer blockbuster season, and it gets earlier and earlier each year. And this is your typical, I'm not going to even say a brain dead, because G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra is a brain dead film, but it works. This is just a boring movie. There is a decent set piece involving a fight between, it's Snake Eyes, he sort of like rescues or kidnaps Storm Shadow, and it's in a monastery high up inside this mountain area, and it's a decent set piece. That's the only decent set piece in the entirety of the movie. Even when Snake Eyes is breaking out, his master out of this security prison, it's not done very well, and it's a really boring, lackluster film. There is nothing enjoyable at all. There's cheesy dialogue throughout. The other best thing about this movie is by far Jonathan Pryce, who plays the president. He has fun with a few bits of his dialogue, including a scene where he's playing Angry Birds. But I'm thinking that the director, John M. Chu, who did Step Up 2, that was his last film that he did, I'm guessing he saw The Avengers, saw the scene in that where the guy is playing a video game and he shouldn't be, in that, and thought, ooh, why don't we add something in G.I. Joe Retaliation instead? I don't get also why the movie was pushed back by 8 months for them to say, oh, it needed 3D and we needed to tweak a few scenes.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that. You just know it wasn't that. And the thing is, as well, I'm just going to say as well, I know I'm interrupting, but I'm going to say, as someone who supports 3D, the 3D in this film is awful. It's pointless. It doesn't work. It's either my cinema just didn't have it projected properly, but I don't think that was the case. I think that it doesn't work in the film. They haven't done it right. Something's not right with it. But when I watched it, there's I was getting that double image thing that happens with certain things, and it's just not been done properly. It doesn't work.
I get double image when I see 3D films anyway, so no matter
I don't know. I mean, I normally see 3D and it works fine for me. As long as it's done properly, I enjoy it. It works. It's fine. This one, it didn't. It's awful. It really is bad 3D.
Yeah, well, that's it. G.I. Joe Retaliation, not worth seeing at all. Even if you like the first one, it's not worth seeing. Even if you want a brain-dead blockbuster movie, go see something else.
Trance, which is the other film I saw this week, which again is kind of a difficult one to explain. It's directed by Danny Boyle. It's written by Joe Haim and John Hodge. It stars James McAvoy as Simon, who is at the beginning of the movie. We see that he works at a sort of a art auction house. And he's working there when it's actually sort of, he goes on at the beginning about the whole thing of that you have this plan in place for art houses, art auctions, if they are robbed and such, if there's anything going on like that. They have a plan of what you do is you quickly take the picture, you go to this emergency hole where you then dump the picture through, and it's safe, and it's locked in a safe that you can't get access to. When this actually does happen, though, what he does is he grabs the picture, he goes to this, he gets to the Dropbox where it is, and he's stopped by Frank, who is played by Vincent Cassel, who stops him at gunpoint, stops the security guards from stopping him, and basically gets away with the picture, but not before hitting Simon on the head with the butt of a shotgun. Simon then afterwards is sort of wakes up in hospital. Everything sort of seems to be going okay for him. He's praised kind of as a hero, but not. This isn't really a spoiler, but it's basically you find out that he is actually involved in the theft, and that he is actually working with Frank to steal the picture. But what happens is when Frank gets the picture back with his group to their location, they open up the bag that it's in and they take it out, and all there is just the frame. The picture is nowhere to be found. So he goes and queries Simon. Simon sort of looks at this and goes, "I'm sorry, I can't tell you. I don't remember why I took the picture or where I put it. I have amnesia as a result of the blows to the head." So what Frank does is organises then for him to be seen by a specialist by hypnosis. Elizabeth, played by Rosario Dawson, who is then going to help him walk through and put him in a trance to actually help him recover this memory of what he has done with the picture. Now, we haven't got a clip for this because I couldn't actually find one that would work on the radio. This is a mind F-bomb of a film, which is a weird way to try and describe it. It is a weird thing that he does in this film, and that you have scenes that are in reality, and then you have scenes that are all taking place in Simon's head as he's in the trance, as he's walking through memories and such and trying to figure it out. And it's really well done. It's really good performances from especially James McAvoy, but you've got Vincent Cassell and Rosario Dawson. All three of them give really great performances. It's thoroughly enjoyable. It's really complex, and when I was watching it, there's a point when I got to it in sort of the second act of it, about 2/3 of the way through, and I was really getting confused with it, and I was getting kind of annoyed with it. I was like, why are you doing this? And I actually started thinking of, oh, this is awful, it's not working. And then the third act comes along, and I was totally blown away. It's one of those films that you will not see it coming. It turns around, and then it turns it around on you again, and turns around on you again, and it's a film that's easy to get lost in, but then when it comes to a certain point, everything is explained, and I'm not kidding. Literally, my mind was blown away by this film. What Danny Boyle's done with this is just absolutely phenomenal. It's visually enjoyable. It's really well directed. It looks great. It needs to be seen in the cinema because it is a big screen thing. And I mean, I don't want to give away any more than that because there's so many things that happen and you're not expecting what comes. That it was just honestly a mind-blowing experience.
Oh well, I tried my best to see Trance because you thought Trance would have been a better film for me. I wish I actually chose Trance now over G.I. Joe Retaliation. To be honest, yeah.
I still think if you get a chance, you should try and go and see it because it is one of those. Like you don't
I like
want to
those
let
kind
anyone
of
spoil
films.
this. You do not want to let anyone spoil this film for you before it's not quite Sixth Sense twist sort of thing, but it's like things that the last third of the film you will not see coming. Not just all of a sudden you get to the end and it's like, oh, that happens. It's actually like, oh wow, that, oh wow, that, oh no, wow, that, kind of you're not expecting it.
Yeah, I do like those kind of films, the kind of films that really do make you think. But unfortunately, I've got to go to the cinema this week, and I can't afford to go to the cinema with multiple films. So I don't know if I'll get to see it this week. I probably, if my cinema holds it over for another week or so next week, I might get to see it then. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely try and see it because it's like I said, I can't believe that he completely pulled the wool over my eyes. In that I thought, oh no, he's done it. He's made a disaster. It doesn't work. And then it got to that point where you're like, oh, Danny Boyle, you genius.
Okay, Andy's got a bit of a Danny Boyle crush now.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, before we disappear, they keep on throwing links in the live chat. This one referred to the Eau de Toilette bottle. Another Iron Man thing. I think Firebox is just having a major April Fool's joke on Iron Man. There was one line in the bottle, and I've put it in the live chat, and it says, an extremely limited run of 100 bottles actually contains a single drop of Robert Downey Jr.'s sweat. I just think that Firebox is having a hell of a lot of fun this April Fool's Day.
I was just about to take a drink of something. I was like, oh, no, I don't. Oh. Yeah.
I like that though. But well done to Firebox, and so I'm guessing the suit
you like
is
a drop of Robert Downey Jr.'s sweat.
It's all fake. It's
I know, but it's
plot.
still yeah. No, I got a horrible taste in my mouth now.
Right, that's it for the cinema section of the show. We will be back in a moment.
I blame you for introducing me to Firebox.
Okay. We will be back in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD section of the show. If you listen to us on the usual places, then please download the other section of the show.